Have you ever thought about purchasing a firearm?
I just turned 18 and I was actually thinking about going and buying one tonight.
Oh, that's awesome because you live in the United States of America and we protect your Second Amendment right to purchase and bear firearms.
Oh, really? That's sick.
Yeah, and because you're now 18, there are some restrictions, but obviously you could probably get past some of those at just a gun show.
Yeah, how would you go about getting past those gun laws?
Well, at a gun show, things are more relaxed and they don't have to go through the whole process of purchasing a firearm. And so sometimes background checks get looked past and they get scanned over without them really looking in too deep. And sometimes you can get through by you're 18, so technically you should only be able to purchase shotguns or rifles, but you could probably get a handgun if you are at the right place.
Sick. I might have to go check that out.
Yeah, it's awesome because owning guns is something that has been enriched in the past of America, especially during the Revolutionary era. But gun laws have gotten so relaxed nowadays that they're not really enforced as strictly as they used to be. So it can get pretty dangerous with guns getting more advanced.
Well, I know for sure that I'll use it responsibly, but I just got to get those background checks right.
Yeah, can't speak for everyone though.
True. Okay, so what is the exact process to get a handgun?
Well, I don't exactly know it off the top of my head, but I'm going to turn this over to my man William Brigham.
Under federal law, to buy a gun from a licensed dealer, you have to be a U.S. citizen and at least 21 to get a handgun or 18 for a rifle or shotgun. Retailers also have to run your name through the National Instant Background Check System. Federal law and some state laws designate 4 main categories that restrict your ability to get a gun: committing a violent or gun-related crime, having a diagnosed mental illness, known drug or alcohol abuse, or crimes committed when you were a juvenile. These are all things that would show up in that background check. These restrictions might seem obvious, but not every state has these rules, and not every state enforces the laws.
Now that we've heard a little bit more about how to obtain a gun,
let's go over to a U.S. military veteran, Mr. Bird, who has a lot of experience with many different firearms, from revolvers. Do you feel that firearms are effective weapons of defense?
Yes.
And in your experience, what firearms have you used more? Referring to pistols versus.
Well, this is kind of an unfair question for me because I was in the military and being a weapons maintenance person, I've worked on everything from the 50 caliber machine gun, the M85 M2, all the way down to the 38 pistol. So I've had plenty of chances to really play with a lot of different weapons. I've fired several weapons and qualified expert on in the military, from the M60 to the M203, the M72A2 Law, the M16A1 and A2, the 9mm, the 45, and I also fired a few NATO weapons as well. So I don't know that I have a favorite. I don't know I have one that I favor over the other. I seem to qualify better with the M16 than I did some of the others, but once you get the technique down, it's a piece of cake.
Okay, so since you've used so many weapons, do you have thoughts on what a normal citizen of the United States should be able to own?
If you look at the Second Amendment as written, any law that prohibits any sale of any weapon is actually kind of against the Second Amendment. I mean, the Second Amendment is pretty much in order to keep a more or well-balanced or well-formed militia, the rights of the citizens to bear arms will not be infringed. Now, with that having said that, I don't think the average citizen needs a machine gun. That being something that fires automatically, we need to make sure that we understand the distinction between automatic rifle versus semi-automatic rifle. Because what's being said by many people today, especially those who are pushing more and more gun control, is that any rifle that you pull a trigger, it's automatic. Of course, they exclude pistols, revolvers. So I think anything that's fully automatic, which is kind of an oxymoron, you would have to have a special license, which right now you actually have to have a special license to get those weapons. So anything that you can fire a single round through, yeah, I'm for it.
All right. Thank you for talking to us today.
You're welcome. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of guns and what they do.
we can look more in depth into what occurred in the shooting at a middle school in Noblesville.
Know what the verdict is going to be, how this is going to play out, and to help me heal and to hopefully help my children heal.
Teacher Jason Seaman and the mother of Ella Whistler did not speak after the hearing. Both asked the court to give the shooter the full punishment under the law. The Hamilton County prosecution team says 5 months after the shooting, the teenager is still obsessed with guns and violence.
After seeing this example of the threat a firearm can be,
We have Officer Wynn here to explain more about these threats and how these situations can occur.
So from my understanding, 21 states have passed legislation that requires some form of a background check. Indiana is not one of them. So private sellers are able to sell guns at a gun show or anywhere else for that matter without a background check. The question becomes, does Indiana change their law to require that? Because as it is now, private sellers would be obligated to spend their own time and money to do a background check, to sell a gun and make money like they want to do. And what's their incentive to do that if it's not required by law?
You heard it here, folks. The right to own bear arms is truly an American right and privilege.
however, currently there is a need for clear and strict enforcement of gun laws. They're currently unclear, as we see in court cases like McDonald versus Chicago, or they're ill-enforced, and that can cause weapons to get into the wrong hands.